I have first pair. Just mute that. Dan, are we live, recorded, and everything like that?
Yep.
Ready to go. Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here tonight. Welcome to tonight's open forum regarding the Reddington bond question that appears on the November 4th ballot. Tonight, our agenda will be introductions of the individuals that are here to present tonight. We have a brief 3-minute video to show highlights of the referendum. I'll give an overview of the referendum and talk about projects in brief, and it'll be a high-level overview because we really want to take an opportunity to leave time for questions from our person in the audience, and it looks like at least 6 people online, which is great. So we will allow for questions a little bit later on. If you're online, there is a live chat feature. So when we get to the Q&A section of our agenda tonight, feel free to type questions in the Q&A and we'll read them aloud and we will answer all of the questions. Dan, you have the clicker. I just want to take a moment to introduce the folks that are with us tonight. If you could bring up the presentation. So this is our brief presentation. The panel in front of you this evening includes the individuals, many of the individuals that helped make our referendum possible. So I will allow I will allow everybody to introduce themselves, starting with Jason.
Hello, my name is Jason Bowman. I'm the business administrator.
Hello, I'm Don Race, facilities manager.
Good evening, everyone. Tony Solomini, lawyer at the law firm Letts Goldman & Spitzer, and we serve as the district's bond counsel.
Good evening, I'm Kevin Settembrino with Settembrino Architects. We're the architect of record for the school district.
Good evening, I'm Rita Settembrino with Settembrino Architects.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for being here tonight. I know our participation live is not quite as many, but we do have some folks online. So hopefully we'll be able to answer some questions tonight regarding the referendum. Dan, if you would bring up, please, the video, and we'll start with our 3-minute video. And from there, we'll just go back to our presentation.
Reddington Township has a unique opportunity this fall to unlock millions of dollars in state funds while using some, but not all, of its expiring debt to fund a net zero tax levy that will upgrade our schools. It's a bond referendum you'll find on your ballot in the general election on November 4th. This video series has important information we want to share about the referendum, our goals for the projects, and how we propose to pay for it. November's referendum is 83 separate projects spread across each of our 4 school buildings. From physical improvements like roofs, electrical, and HVAC systems, to educational improvements like classroom and media center upgrades, to community improvements like updates to our elementary playgrounds, athletic fields, and middle school track. The referendum is a chance to address decades of capital improvements at once, with the state committee picking up more than a third of the cost. In addition to more than $12 million in state funding support, we see 3 key benefits. It starts with enhancing our students' experience. The improvements to our buildings will allow us to improve instruction, including renovated media centers and smart boards, to a life skills room, even things like new windows that can make our classrooms foster a more active, engaged learning environment. The improvements will also update our physical facilities because we know students can't learn unless they feel safe, comfortable, and can safely access what they need. For safety, we'll upgrade doors, locks, and communication systems to meet the latest school safety standards, along with electrical and HVAC improvements to aging systems that can make our buildings healthier, more comfortable, and more efficient, while improving accessibility to spots like walkways and playgrounds so that everyone can be included at school. Some of these improvements will also bring our buildings up to the latest code requirements, which are expenses we know we'll need to cover that we can include now with the state's help. Here's what the referendum will cost and how we propose to pay for it. The 83 projects total just under $38 million in improvements. If Reddington voters approve, $12.4 million will be covered through state aid, leaving about $25.5 million to be financed locally. Because Reddington has debt expiring in 2027, we can replace some, but not all of this debt with a new expenditure at a net zero tax levy, resulting in a net tax savings of $17 on the average home, which is valued at about $452,000. The bond referendum question will appear on the general election ballot on November 4th. To participate, you must register to vote by October 14th, 2025. You may then vote in person at your designated polling station on the day of the election, or request a mail-in ballot to vote by mail or drop box in advance. And to dig into the details, finances, and benefits of all 83 projects in the bond referendum, navigate to the Reddington referendum page on our website, or by scanning this QR code, which will take you to the page.
For anyone at home, if you were unable to hear or see part of our video, you could access our video by navigating to our website and clicking on the tile that brings you to our referendum website, and the video can be accessed there as well. So if anybody would like to see the video in brief, it really does give you a 3-minute highlight of what the referendum is all about. So at this point, I'll continue with the presentation and just move on to the next slide. So this just explains that a bond referendum will appear on the November 4th ballot, and it's a public question. It's a question that is a yes/no question, and it asks the public, the voters or the taxpayers here in Reddington, for approval to issue bonds by the Board of Education to incur debt to finance capital projects. So this is on the general election ballot. It's a yes/no question, and the question revolves around the funding of these bonds that total about $38 million. Why would we do a bond referendum? School districts choose to do a bond referendum to enhance their facilities with projects that don't necessarily fit in with an annual operating budget. One of the benefits of doing a referendum allow for eligible projects to get funding assistance through the state. And there are some differences, even in our bond referendum. There are some projects that are eligible for state assistance, and there are some projects that may not be as well. Bond and principal interest payments are outside the cap. So each Board of Education is limited to raise taxes at a 2% cap. However, the principal and interest payments, if we borrow money, is our payments outside the cap. And this gives the board the ability to finance major capital projects over a period of time that's in advance of doing them a few projects one summer at a time. So like the video mentioned, it gives us an opportunity to do a lot of projects sooner rather than later, rather than waiting to put each project into an operating budget. On the next slide, we'll talk about some of the considerations that the board discussed as we prepare the referendum, and I'll talk about a timeline soon. We planned this issuance of these bonds to coincide with the expiration of existing debt. And I know Jason will talk a little bit more about the finance, which was one of our key drivers in going out for a referendum at this time. The timing was perfect. Debt is expiring. Issuing new bonds means that there's no impact to the taxpayer, because we want to ensure that in an economic time that we are not raising taxes and putting too much of a burden on taxpayers at a time like this. We want to make sure that we balance our referendum projects with capital projects that we've achieved over the past several years. We have accomplished roof replacements, boiler replacements, window replacements, and roof replacements over the past 8 to 10 years, but it's time for us to accelerate some of our projects as well. Our facilities are getting older, they require some maintenance, and we want to ensure that we prepare the Readington schools for the future. We took our time to start thinking about our referendum last fall. So we began with department meetings with the administration as well as with all of the teachers to get input on what could or should be included in the referendum. We met with various stakeholders. We had our architect and his engineer do walkthroughs of our facilities. We did a public forum just like this last December to gather even more ideas of projects that could go into the referendum. And then the Board of Education voted in December, the bond attorney did his presentation to the Board of Education so that by February they could vote on all of the projects to be included in the referendum. This past August through now, we've done a public campaign providing information to folks about the referendum, and it appears on the ballot next week. So some of our stakeholder engagement involved teachers, parents through the HSA, the Township Committee, and community members. This time last year, actually December of last year, we had another public forum just like this where we sought some ideas. Our architect and engineer walkthroughs were key in helping us prioritize some projects. The Board of Education and the administration also did walkthroughs through all 4 buildings to help assist in the prioritization of projects. Our architect completed his paperwork and did Department of Education submissions. The Board of Education approved a resolution to move forward with the referendum and to vote in November. And now we're in the process of providing as much information as we can to the public to inform them of the referendum being on the ballot for November. So I'll turn it over to Jason to talk about our projects at a glance. But we've basically put our projects into 3 categories: facility upgrades, safety enhancements, and student life experiences. Our goal through this referendum is to enhance our facilities as well as improve safety, but also be mindful of the student experience here in Readington and do what we can to try to make sure that students learn and come to school every day in a comfortable, welcoming, and warm environment. Jason, have you had any information on the projects, or Don as well?
Through the input of all the stakeholders, we had over 250 potential projects for us to choose from, and the board had the arduous task of going through the 4 buildings, looking at what needs to be prioritized, consulting with our specialists, including the engineer and architect, on what needs to be replaced, what's out of warranty, what is failing at this point. And that's why the vast majority of our projects in the referendum are facility upgrades such as roofs and HVAC systems. Most of these are end of life. We have been able to accomplish some of these replacements through capital reserves, like Dr. Hart mentioned. We've been able to redo the roof at Hollenbrook School for about $3.5 million. It took us 3 years to do that. We also did some HVAC systems through the state energy program, which covered about 80% of that. We replaced 2 units. But if you think about how many buildings we have and how many roof sections we have and how much HVAC we have, the amount of time it would take to replace everything we need to would eclipse 20 years. And the district currently only has about $1 million in capital reserves. So I mentioned that we replaced roofs for $3.5 million. We do not have the ability to replace roof sections right now. And with the 2% tax levy cap and costs rising as everyone is experiencing, it is getting harder and harder for us to put money away in reserves to be able to do this. So this came at an opportunity time to allow us to go out for a referendum when we can lower taxes, but still accomplish these things where before they fail and leaks occur and HVAC systems that provide heat to our buildings start failing and impacting our student programming and our staff who teach, we're able to do that through lowering taxes and our upgrades. A lot of things we're also looking at is safety enhancements. I mean, safety is the number one important thing in a school district. It's safety and security, then learning. With this referendum, we're including many upgrades that would enhance safety and security. These include door locks, PA and communication systems. Some of those are 30 plus years old. One of the pieces of equipment requires a specialist who's quasi-retired at this point in the 70s to come out, and there's only 3 people in the entire state that can repair the piece of equipment. Don can speak to his team, who he has sent to do HVAC training, and now they are ordering custom parts for replacing some of these HVAC units. But most importantly, we didn't want to forget about the reason why we're all here, which is students. And the district has 30-plus-year-old playgrounds. We've had to remove entire fixtures. The mains team's done a great job at even removing parts of the playgrounds that have become hazardous. And these things just need replacement. It's like having a car. After 10 to 15 years, it's eventually going to die, and you're going to need to replace it. The same thing exists in your home and as well in the school. So we have smart boards, we have the track in the back, we have media centers that need upgrades to provide the optimal experience for students. So with the referendum, we've compiled 83 projects, which is a tremendous amount of projects, probably the most amount of projects you'll ever see in a referendum at all 4 buildings, spread evenly to increase the impact across all grade levels and all students. And our hope was that we would touch every facet of the student learning process, as well as the staff well-being, so that way we could create a place where people want to come and learn and grow and become strong adults in the future. Tom, did I miss anything? You want to add anything?
I think you've done a great job.
You talked art.
No, we are very excited.
We are excited at this opportunity. It really was purposeful planning and gathering the input from the stakeholders in our community to develop that list of almost 200 or over 200 projects, and then working it to the 83 projects that made it into the referendum. Those of you who may have given input on projects, don't worry, we still have that list of 200 projects, and we will work on accomplishing that list of some of the ideas that we received from our community. But here's the key, funding. And I'll have Jason talk about this in much more detail, and Tony, if he wants to weigh in as well. A referendum is borrowing money. So the question on the ballot is, can the Readington Public Schools borrow $38 million for all of these improvements? And the funding details are unique because there's no impact to the taxpayer. But I'll have Jason walk through the funding.
So we currently have existing debt, and the taxpayers pay that debt currently, and those project costs were about $40 million over the 20-year life cycle. Those are expiring in 2027. Because they're expiring, that debt is coming off of our books. And if we're able to pass this referendum, we will have $38 million, which is lower than the $40 million originally that we pushed out 20 years ago, which will lower taxes. So the board was very cognizant of the taxpayers and making sure that we drafted a referendum that would lower taxes, so that way there's no impact to the taxpayers. And as interest rates start lowering, which they are now, the savings could be more than what's even listed on these slides tonight. And I'd be remiss in saying that we've had a lot of referendums nearby. Most of them have been for increasing taxes, and our board is very cognizant that there's trying times right now, and we want to make sure that we are lowering taxes for the local taxpayer for this vote. Tony, do you have anything that you would want to highlight on the bond?
I guess just 2 things. When Jason is talking about lowering taxes, Thank you. Just two things. The first thing, when Jason was speaking about lowering taxes, he's talking about lowering the debt service levy portion of the taxes. There's obviously the general fund portion, and then there's the portion that the board doesn't control for the municipality and the county. And I think if anybody's been aware, throughout New Jersey over the last couple of years, there's probably been 50 or so referendum, and that's to take advantage of that debt service aid. So as you saw from the slide that Jason went over, you're going to get about $30 million worth of projects, but the local impact's only about $25 million. And without taking advantage of a referendum, if the district were to finance these projects on its own, it would have to come up with $38 million. So that's really, besides the debt falling off, when Dr. Hart showed that one slide of all the things that went into consideration, that debt service aid is a really huge component of this project.
When Jason and I present, one thing that I'll tell, at faculty meetings or at Board of Education meetings, is that all of us who live in New Jersey pay state income tax, and that $12.5 million is at the state level. We can access it through a referendum, and why shouldn't we get some of the money that we pay in income tax back for the kids of Readington? It's there, and we're able to unlock that funding. The only way we unlock it is through a referendum. Just some information if you want to learn more, please go to our website. Our video, FAQs, as well as every newsletter that I've sent out to the parent and community are on our website. You can scan the QR code, and you can contact us directly at the information that's up on the screen. If you go to the next slide, you can go to our website, email Referendum or Jason, or you can give us a call. If you want to, you can always stop by the Board of Education office here at 52 Reddington Road. But this is a general overview. I mean, we want to take time for those of you who are online to field your questions. We have one person in the audience. He's our board president, so thank you for being here and supporting us. But if there's any questions online, I'll have Dan click over, and we will open the floor to any questions that we have posted. So I'll read the questions, and it says, are we adding funding for our neurodivergent kids and support for kids who don't qualify for special education? Have we considered incorporating Montessori principles into our schools, less screens, and more tactile learning tools? So in regard to question number one, when it comes to funding for students in special education, this referendum specifically has enhancements to students' experiences, specifically to students that are in our life skills program. To the extent this referendum accomplishes the needs of special education students, we also will do enhancements to things like middle school furniture, some of the outside play areas for students to be able to play, recess fields, and new playgrounds for children. The playgrounds will be handicap accessible for all kids. So to the extent that we're considering neurodivergent kids and students with special needs, all of the accessibility features are incorporated into the projects in this referendum. Related to less screens, more tactile learning, there are student enhancements for playgrounds, the outdoor track, outdoor recess fields are all included in the referendum to ensure that we promote student wellness, including staff wellness, because I know our staff and our community members also use our track for walking. So we're going to incorporate them that way. The district and Board of Education adopts an operating budget every year as well. And within that operating budget, we include funding through IDEA, as well as through our pupil services budget, specialized programs for students with special needs. So students are eligible through their IEPs for programs such as resource room programs, self-contained special education programs, such as our autism program or ERI program. And we do that through our general fund budget, and we do that every year as well. So I think the answer to the question is sort of two things. One, yes, there are certain projects that promote student health, wellness, and are geared towards students with special needs. But don't forget, on our operating budget side, we also incorporate an operating budget through IDEA and our general fund and pupil services for students with special needs.
Yeah, and I'll also add to that, I mean, included in the referendum is also specialized furniture. So there's students that have 504 plans and other accommodations that they may need. And we've had a history of providing those devices or equipment or needs to help those students learn and be their best. And as part of this referendum is to enhance those needs, particularly at the middle school for upcoming students.
Kids in the preschool and kindergarten level, any child in our preschool program, the preschool is funded through PEA, which is Preschool Education Aid, and that's completely separate from this referendum. Kindergarten students are in our buildings and will benefit from our playgrounds, our upgraded systems, the safety enhancements. All of those students will be included. So really our referendum tackles grades K through 8. Preschool is separate funding.
And I'll also just mention that preschool right now is 100% funded by the state. There's no cost to the local taxpayers for that. So ages 3 and 4 attend for free. In the private provider classrooms, there's no smart boards. So that was done purposely to encourage learn through play and other curriculum, which is more hands-on with manipulatives. So right now that is in place and separately funded, and we do use that separate funding for playgrounds as well as furniture, and we have special needs that are met through that funding, which is not local tax levy at all and is not impacted by the referendum. But if you have specific ideas that you would like considered for that, I would tell you to also email me, because we can separately do that without the referendum.
Next question from the same individual is, what about parents who don't want their kindergarten or first grade kids on screens? My recommendation would be for you to contact your child's teacher and discuss that option with your child's teacher. We do have some alternatives. We do have several programs that are online, and our math program does have a learning path online, as well as some reading that does occur online as well. But if that's something that you would like for your child, make sure you contact your child's teacher. The next thing is, I have a neurodivergent kiddo, and he has been rejected for any accommodations. Can you comment on that? I can't. I don't know your child, unfortunately. So if you have a question about accommodations or modifications for your child's education, I would contact the Pupil Services Office or your child's teacher. If you're contacting your child's teacher, you should send an email to your child's teacher. The next question is, what email should I send that to? I don't know who your child's teacher is. I would recommend that you contact your child's teacher directly. If you go to our school website, you'll be able to identify your teacher, and there will be an email address, and you can contact them directly. Are there any other questions from those online? Any other information from our panel here tonight?
Just a little, just a comment with regard to project timing.
Yeah.
Based on the projects that are here, we would look at projects during the summer of 26 and the summer of 27 with longer lead items such as HVAC. So it's important to understand that should the referendum be successful in next week, projects would happen over time, some sooner and some later, and then we would do with minimal impact to the district. Some after hours, but mostly during the summers for the next 2 years.
And I think that's a great point. On our website, the priorities are listed in each individual project, 1, 2, and 3, and you can see the priorities in there. And with these items that are out exterior, because we try not to do interior renovations as best as possible to not disrupt the students and staff, with exterior renovations, those are possible all year. So not just summer of 2026 and summer of 2027. For example, we could redo the track during the school year. We can redo the recess fields during the school year. And we can redo the lighting at White House and Three Bridges to allow for block parties at night, and also dim the lighting automatically, so that way it doesn't disrupt neighbors. We can do all of that throughout the entire school year. So, we try our best to not disrupt the education process, but also to accomplish things as quickly as, as desired.
There was one additional comment that just appeared online, and the comment is, thank you for all of your work on this referendum. I hope it passes. Thanks for your comment. Another comment from Queen B. Can you elaborate on what additions and amendments you will include when you speak about making playgrounds inclusive? Actually, can you talk? Can you talk a little bit about how playgrounds are now designed to be more inclusive in terms of the equipment and the surface?
The surface, the access to the playgrounds will be barrier-free, which means there'll be no, we don't want it to overcome any curb heights, so there'll be a smooth access from the adjacent walkway to the playground, and all of the playground equipment will be barrier-free or ADA accessible in accordance with the current code.
In addition, am I correct in saying that on the playground it will also be a flat surface, not like a grass surface or anything like that, so that if children need to access it, I don't know, wheelchair or something like that?
Surface will be wheelchair compliant, and it will just slope slightly to drain.
Okay. And there's a variety of equipment that we can select for the playground that includes playgrounds specific to students with neurodivergent needs. And our plan would be, should the referendum pass, to have a committee of parents work with the principal and select specific equipment to make sure that there were no barriers, make sure that the surface allows for handicap accessibilities, and make sure that there's equipment that meets the needs of all children.
And we'll work with the equipment vendors and the manufacturers to make sure that those are done and complete and all accessible.
Sure. Is this in regards to White House specifically? Yes. So the playground upgrades are for both Three Bridges and White House schools, our pre-K through 3 buildings.
And a lot of our outdoor spaces that are included in the referendum, like Dr. Hart mentioned, are used by the community. So you may have a 1, 2, 3-year-old that may not be yet in our buildings that will use the White House playground. It's a walking school. There's a lot of people. That's where they congregate to meet other parents before they're in school districts. So, having these things be there for the community on Saturdays and Sundays at night for them to use, I think is critically important. And as Dr. Hart mentioned, stakeholder input will be part of this. There's things that can be enhanced at the middle school play yard that definitely can be used by our community. Currently, there's basketball courts, but there could be a variety of other things placed in there that the public is free to use on weekends and weeknights.
The next comment is a thank you. You're welcome. Any other comments from individuals online? We appreciate the questions and the engagement from folks online. Please remember that more information can be found on our website. If you have further questions, our website can answer many of them for you through our FAQs. Our video is there as well. A week from today is Election Day. Please don't forget, this is your opportunity to go and vote on November 4th. And we appreciate your engagement and you being here to gather more information. So thank you. Thanks, everybody.